From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Senate confirms appointment of Joash Amopitan as chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Talks to resolve ongoing standoff between striking lecturers and federal government end without resolution. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to retrieve remains of slain hostages still held in Gaza following ceasefire deal. Unit says travelers must declare cash above $10,000 at entry point of international airports.
And in sports, Nigeria Football Federation are in line for massive financial windfall if the Super Eagles qualify for the 2026 World Cup.
Thank you for being here. Tonight begins now. We begin tonight at the Upper Legislative Chamber, where lawmakers screened and confirmed the appointment of Professor Joash Amopitan as the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The screening held during plenary after the Senate suspended its rules to allow the nominee and his family into the chamber. News Center's National Assembly correspondent Sage Ibrahim has details.
Plenary focused on strengthening Nigeria's electoral process as its major agenda. Gears switched quickly, first with the Senate Majority Leader moving a motion for its rules to be suspended to allow strangers enter the hallowed chambers, giving way for the arrival of Joash Amopitan, a professor of law and senior advocate of Nigeria, nominated by President Bola Tinubu to replace Professor Mahmood Yakubu as its substantive chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. After preliminary introduction, lawmakers took turns posing questions to the nominee, focusing on INEC's independence, transparency, technology, security, inclusivity, and electoral law reform. Professor Amopitan pledged to restore credibility and trust through a comprehensive institutional audit and stronger internal control.
INEC was supposed to provide some guarantees and checks and balances. But owing to the issues of glitches, that eroded the confidence of so many people. I have to audit the system if I'm given the opportunity. There is a need for an electoral offenses commission. INEC does not really have the capacity presently, and strengthening the internal disciplinary procedure following due process to ensure that those that are involved in such misconduct are brought to book.
Mr. President, we want to assure you that this man before you will not disappoint this nation. He's a man of trust. He's a man of integrity.
I wish Professor Amopitan well and pray that his services will improve the electoral process, lead to more transparency, and ensure that every vote counts, and that the winners are truly the ones that are announced.
After over 2 hours of intense grilling and satisfied with his responses, the Senate moved a motion for the nominee to take a bow and exit the chambers before subsequently approving and confirming his appointment as chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
With renewed public appetite for electronic transmission of results and diaspora voting, expectations are high that Professor Joash Amopitan's leadership will strengthen confidence in the electoral process and set a new standard for Nigeria's democracy. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sage Ibrahim.
Sage joins us now. He was at the screening exercise, and we wanted to get a little more from him after the report. Sage, thank you for being here. Quickly talk to us about what stood out for you during his screening, especially from the nature of questions posed by lawmakers.
Well, good evening, Felicity. For me, I would say that the screening really exposed that in a country like Nigeria, where many individuals qualify, as a matter of fact, to take up the mantle of leadership for the Independent National Electoral Commission, it really at this point is no longer a question about whether you have a professorial qualification, a doctorate qualification, or whatever the case may be. For these lawmakers, it's not a matter of qualification. It's a matter of patriotism and wanting to do the job for the love for one's country, and of course for the sake of ensuring that the true dividends of democracy is enjoyed by Nigerians. So for them, really, the focus was not about his qualifications. If it were for qualifications, I mean, he brought a resume that looked like a compendium, I must say, but then it still didn't stop them from asking the questions, especially ones around an improvement in Nigeria's electoral system and Nigeria's electoral process. Talk about new innovations in electioneering, electronic transmission of results, diaspora voting to capture Nigerians in diaspora who for the longest time have been disenfranchised, even though they have added a lot in terms of foreign direct investment, to the nation's economy. Of course, research and statistics has shown that between 20 to 25 billion has been a steady input from Nigerians from diaspora into the Nigerian economy. So for this block of individuals to continue to be disenfranchised, of course, is something that really has to be looked into. So for these lawmakers, it really is a question of whether he has the capacity to deliver, and of course, whether he will do so in the interest of not just the lawmakers who are there, but in the interest of Nigerians, to build that much needed trust, credibility, and integrity for the Independent National Electoral Commission.
The confirmed chairman spoke about conducting an institutional audit to restore credibility to INEC. What exactly did he mean by that? Or should I say, what interpretations were lawmakers putting to that comment that he made? And how significant is the promise in strengthening Nigeria's electoral process?
Well, Felicity, for what it means, I would say that for a longest time, the Commission has been bedeviled with challenges, particularly around trust. There's been a seemingly obvious trust deficit between Nigeria and the Independent National Electoral Commission. And I would say this has been because most of the times the outcomes of elections in Nigeria, or a lot of times rather, not most of the times, the outcome of elections in Nigeria has really not been determined by the Independent National Electoral Commission, because we have seen time and time again how the board does not stop at the court of but proceeds to the law courts where election results are adjudicated, and in fact, in the end, judges end up determining who occupies seats in Nigeria more, than elections do. So for them, it's a matter of ensuring that all of these issues are addressed. First of all, to ensure at least a reduction in election litigation cases. Secondly, if the people trust the system and trust INEC so much, there would not be a lot of this feeling or this cause of them being disenfranchised or their mandates being stolen whenever elections come and elections go with result being put out and a lot of people being dissatisfied. So really for them, this is what it means when they say what they say.
With rising public expectation for electronic transmission of results and greater transparency, what will be some of the key challenges the new INEC chairman is likely to face as he begins his tenure ahead of the 2027 elections?
He was asked this question, and for him it's a matter of logistics and also a matter of finance. He had, because he is not the chairman yet, promised that a comprehensive audit has to be taken for him to have a full understanding of what the issues are, the strategies that are needed to address these issues, and to have an understanding of what timelines it will take to ensure that these issues, are addressed headlong. So for him, it's finance, for him it's logistics, and for him is having a more robust strategy to ensure that materials get to areas within the country that for the longest time have been bedeviled for one reason or the other, whether it's security or whatever case, which has prevented Nigerians, disenfranchised real and true Nigerians who are supposed to be participating in the election, to do so. So for him, these are the challenges, and until these challenges are addressed, he believes his job as INEC chairman would not really and truly be fulfilled.
Sage, you said he's not the confirmed chairman yet, but a lot of persons will say it looks like a done deal. The Senate has already confirmed him. But just for the purpose of clarity, what other hurdle does he need to get through before he is confirmed fully as the chairman of INEC?
Just to correct that impression, I meant in my response that as at the time he was answering the question, he was still undergoing screening and had not been
Okay, because I had to pick that up.
Confirmation has since been done, and at this moment, I would say he has been confirmed as chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. But as far as hurdles go, I would say for a lot of Nigerians, the question and the concern has really been about external interference. For the longest time, the Electoral Act has provided, and the Constitution has given the president the powers of appointment for the person who takes up the mantle of leadership for the Independent National Electoral Commission. In Senate climes, or of course in other places, we would say that this is supposed to be an aberration of some sort. But then in countries like Nigeria, that is the case, where the Electoral Commission chairman is determined by somebody with the biggest stake, in this case the president, some would say, in such elections. So until these hurdles are addressed, these issues around interference, these issues around trust, and these issues around generally the process of the election, which some way or the other has sidelined certain individuals or groups headlong, well, he continues to have a challenge pending when these issues are addressed.
Sagi, thank you very much for speaking to us. And of course, the clarification about his confirmation, it was important. Thank you. All right, let's go to security matters now. The Kogi state government is intensifying its crackdown on banditry, targeting those aiding and abetting criminal elements and promoting insecurity in the state. In Kababunu, local government area of the state, security operatives demolished a hideout being used by suspected bandits. News Central's Mono Balagbobo reports from Aheri Bunu, where the operation took place.
After the arrest of suspected bandits receiving medical treatment in a remote forest community in Aheri Bunu, Kababunu local government area about a week ago, joint security forces once again stormed the community.
So we are on our way to the particular community where bandits have been arrested, and according to the state security advisor, he says that the governor is clamping down on bandits.
The area was reportedly deserted after arrests were made, as security officials say that the suspects were injured during previous encounters with government forces and had retreated the community to receive treatment, prompting the state's swift response.
So behind me are the faces of those who have been arrested.
One out of the two suspects was found with gunshot wounds, allegedly being treated in the remote settlement.
And in picking them by our hunters, they came back to the community. They reported back to me, and which I reported to the governor, the head governor of Kogi State. And he directed that any house that criminals or bandits are being treated, we must demolish those houses.
That directive was carried out as huts and farm produce used by the suspects were set ablaze by the operatives. Officials say the aim is to eliminate all forms of logistical support for criminal gangs operating in the state.
We've been able to saturate everywhere that it is difficult to treat them inside the town again. And we are arresting, fake doctors or doctors that are treating them. We are not going to spare anyone perpetrating crime and criminality in Kogi State.
The state authorities have vowed not to spare anyone aiding banditry in the state, regardless of origin or affiliation, as security presence remains active in the area. In Kogi for News Central, Mono Balagbobo.
Many thanks, Mono. Coming up tonight, Nigerian Medical Association says Nnamdi Kanu's health isn't life-threatening, fit to stand trial. More when we return. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Senate confirms appointment of Joash Amopita as chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Talks to resolve ongoing standoff between striking lecturers and federal government end without resolution. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to retrieve remains of slain hostages still held in Gaza following ceasefire deal. Let's bring you the details on Nnamdi Kanu's case. The Nigerian Medical Association has submitted its medical report on the health status of the Biafra Nation agitator Nnamdi Kanu to the Federal High Court in Abuja. At the resumption of proceedings, Justice James Omotosho confirmed receipt of the report, which was filed on October 13, 2025 and served on all parties. The prosecution, led by Adegboyega Awomolo, reminded the court that the report followed an earlier order for an independent assessment of Kanu's health condition, while defense counsel Kanu Agabi admitted that he had received the report. Justice Omotosho stated that Kanu's condition does not appear life-threatening and ruled that he is fit to stand trial. The judge then fixed October the 23rd, 24th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and the 30th for the defendant to open and close his defense.
The court had ordered further that Nnamdi Kanu be examined by the Nigerian Medical Association. That examination was never carried out, and the order was entered on 26th September and restated on 8th October. That part of the order was disobeyed. They never examined him. So the report is based on some informal meeting they held with Nnamdi Kanu as far back as 18th September. At the DSS headquarters in Abuja. They were invited to do that by the DSS. The court and the DSS are not the same. So what we have in court, or what we were served in court today, quite frankly, we cannot be sure where it emanated from. Did it emanate from assumption, or did it emanate from the examination carried out on 18th September before the court entered an order on 26th?
Go to make a consequential order. Say, please, go and examine him and report back to me. They never examined Nnamdi Kanu, only for them to come up with this report. Nigerian Medical Council, they should be very careful, because this is a professional body and you are expected to act professionally. In your report, you are expected, I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm a practicing lawyer. You are expected to show that on this particular day, we obtained his specimen. We carried out this lab, and the lab showed this, and we are talking about somebody's life, for goodness sake. You cannot just enter into your office room and you open your system and start writing trash.
To education now, talks to end the ongoing impasse between the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and the federal government have ended without resolution. The meeting comes amid growing concerns over stalled agreements and demands yet to be met by government. While the talks raised hopes of progress, details of the discussions were not disclosed to the media, as both parties declined to share specifics, maintaining a cautious silence on the outcome of their deliberations. ASU, however, described the meeting as a scratch on the surface, emphasizing that it marks only the start of what is expected to be a lengthy negotiation. My colleague Simaya Abubakar was at the meeting that was attended by a handful of government and ASU officials. Simaya, speak to us about how the meeting between the two parties panned out.
Good evening, Felicity. I have to clarify that when this meeting happened, it was quite difficult for New Central to get the location because it was on the harsh side. So we had to, deep dive to get that. So when we got there, we realized that it was just News Central that was able to get this vital information and the location of this meeting. So we waited around, and after the meeting, it was just a handful of members, a representative of the ASU that came out. And when we followed them down, there was just them with an interaction with a parent, one parent who I think worked within the vicinity where the meeting happened, and she was pleading with them to please go back, call off the strike so that the children at home can go back to school. So we approached them, and one of them was kind to just share that there was no details shared, or there is no details that they could tell us about this. He said that, of course, in terms of giving the details and the outcome of the meeting, it would have to come from the spokesperson. And since this is just a scratch, according to them, this is just like a laying ground for ASU's demand to the government, and nothing has been, really set on stone yet. So in his own words, this is just a scratch. It's just the beginning, and we would have to wait and see how the outcome would be. Now, we did, of course, ask if this meeting is going to take longer, how many days are we looking at? If it's going to be over before the end of the warning strike, which is 2 weeks. But he said that only is going to be determined by the federal government, and how they, pay off or give in to their demand. That will be the decider of how fast it will be.
What can you tell us about the caliber of officials that attended that meeting? I mean, ASU was there, the federal government was there. Did that give you any sense that this lengthy negotiation is even off to a start?
I would say I was looking for, if there is any details, but then I got a bit of mixed, reaction coming up from these ASU members. For the federal government, we don't really know who were representing the federal government. There was just a bit of a tight-lipped kind of situation, and we could not even have access to the people on the other side. That's the federal government. But then from the ASU, the person that we were able to talk to was giving off the air of, we are in control of this, like it's looking promising. But then afterwards, when I tried to reach another person from still the ASU, there was a bit of a gloom. So I would say it's some sort of a mixed reaction or mixed feeling for the union. But then the major concern would be, the students that are at home are waiting. And I would say, Felicity, that the longer this the longer this time, the time of this meeting is going to affect some students, just some of them, because across universities, from the Abuja University where we sampled, medical students are still in section. We have other students as well who lecturers are not part of this ASU union who are also in session. So for some that have been walked out of class, who have exams, even though it didn't happen in Gwagwalada University, because Abuja University are just resuming. But then some students are already, excited that this has nothing to do with them while others are affected. But then from how it is going, from the location, there's so much tight lid. I would say we don't really know that it seemed like it's a tense air, and it's not favorable for the student or even the parents that would be, having their children stay at home.
Smile, I guess we wait and see what happens in the coming days. Thank you very much for the coverage. It's day 2 of Tech Cabal's Moonshot 2025 conference being held in Lagos, Nigeria's economic capital. It continues on the theme Building Momentum, spotlighting how Africa's tech ecosystem is evolving at a crucial growth stage. The event brought together startups, investors, and policymakers to explore sustainable strategies for scaling innovation and shaping the continent's next phase of technological advancement. News Central's business correspondent Juliet Rowland was there and brings us this report.
Day 2 of Tech Cabal's Moonshot 2025 conference. As discussions deepened around the theme, Building Momentum, regulators used the opportunity to outline how leveraging open banking frameworks can spur innovation and expand financial access in Africa's tech ecosystem, and how this impact can be measured.
The impact of open banking will be measured in 3 ways. One will be whether consent, how consent is given, and if it's explicit. There's also the data protection of how strictly they are adhering to data protection. But I think the real impact is going to be how is it impacting the digital economy, how is it impacting grassroots, underserved communities, SMEs. One use case is people that have that are excluded by traditional lenders that don't have access to credit because they don't have credit histories. But now you have data, banking data, you have many data points provide them access.
In line with our mission.
Speakers also emphasized that Africa's fintech growth must go beyond funding and instead focus on building critical digital roadmaps that promote commerce, easy payment systems, inclusion, and long-term economic resilience.
We've seen the first steps with the AFCFTA. We've seen some other additional steps with the PAPS implementation that is being rolled out across Africa today. But there's still a lot of work to do. On the innovator side, I think that because innovation always moves ahead of regulation, there has to be people and companies who will go ahead and start building out these systems, getting local licensing in several regions across Africa, and then eventually pushing the regulators to have the ability to have that interconnected trust layer, like a mutual recognition framework. A database.
They believe that more can be achieved if players within the digital space can be innovative and secure partnership deals for sustainable growth.
Innovation is basically driven by the players, right? And there's no bigger space to find the players who are driving innovation across multiple parts of the ecosystem than at one shot. And even in the space that we play, enhancing trade in Africa, we find that there's loads of players in that space that are here as well, who we are partnering with, discussing ideas with, and also looking to deliver solutions together with onto the continent.
As Moonshot 2025 ended, it was agreed that scaling Africa's tech revolution required identifying talents and strengthening alliances that could engineer an integrated and advanced technological system on the continent. In Lagos for News Central, I am Juliet Bruland.
Still ahead tonight, burial procession of Kenya's Raila Odinga witnessed chaotic scene. We will bring you details of that when we return tonight. At Nairobi's Kasarani Stadium as security forces fired gunshots and tear gas to disperse tens of thousands of mourners gathered to pay respects to late Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga. The crowd surged toward the VIP section, prompting security to open fire. Reporters confirmed at least 3 people were injured, including one with a serious head wound. Odinga passed away from a suspected heart attack in India. His body's arrival sparked massive crowds, overwhelming Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and forcing a relocation of the funeral to Kasarani Stadium. The scene turned chaotic as fans waving symbolic green branches were scattered by gunfire. Let's tell you that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reaffirmed his determination to pressure Hamas to locate and return the remains of the dead hostages still held in Gaza. Speaking at a memorial for victims of the Hamas attack on October 7, 2023, Netanyahu vowed that Israel will continue fighting terrorism with full force until every last fallen hostage is brought home. This declaration came shortly after Hamas returned the bodies of 2 additional hostages but said it could not access the remains of 19 others. While the United States has downplayed concerns that Hamas is breaching the ceasefire, Israel maintains that Hamas must fulfill its obligations under the agreement. And to the US, a federal judge on Wednesday ordered a temporary halt to the layoffs by the Trump administration of thousands of federal workers during the government shutdown. District Judge Suzanne Elston in San Francisco issued the temporary restraining order in response to a suit filed by labor unions claiming the layoffs are illegal. Elston issued her order shortly after the White House said it will likely lay off at least 10,000 federal workers during the shutdown. The shutdown has ground into its 3rd week with Congress deadlocked. Let's now turn to an immigration lawyer, Joseph Babalola, to get his perspective on the latest developments. Thank you for joining us tonight. What are the potential constitutional implications of a U.S. judge temporarily halting layoffs of federal workers? And how does this ruling protect the rights and interests of federal workers, particularly those who are not deemed essential and were facing layoffs due to government shutdown?
Well, the first thing that we have to talk about is the fact that this is not permanent. It was a very short reprieve that was actually issued by the district judge. The second thing is that all the non-essential workers that you're talking about, they could still be laid off. And then the second thing is that they can actually still work without pay. The third thing is that the government actually has some latitude, except the case actually goes all the way to the Supreme Court. It's going to be very difficult to actually say that this is actually very, very permanent. So we need a permanent solution to the issue in the sense that Congress has to come back together and they have to find a lasting solution to this impasse.
What are the potential consequences for the federal government and its operations if the shutdown continues?
They continue to lose essential people. And there are a couple of, I'll give you examples. At the CDC, for instance, right now, hundreds of very brilliant scientists have been laid off. And it's going to be very difficult for the CDC to come back together as a unit to be able to do the things that they actually did before, which is fight diseases around the world. The second thing is that they're losing very, very brilliant people that are working all across the federal government right now. And they're very discouraged because they're not being paid. So the consequences could be very devastating for the country going forward if this is not actually resolved.
How can Congress help to resolve the government shutdown and prevent future shutdowns? Is that even possible? And how with...
It's possible.
Okay, go ahead. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's possible. This is day 16 of the government shutdown. You also need to realize that Congress actually right now is not in session. So the first thing that needs to happen is that Congress needs to come back in session. And then secondly is that the two sides, the Democrats and the Republicans, they actually need to sit down and talk about essential things. What is the Democrats talking about? They're talking about ACA subsidies, which has to do with healthcare that affects every single American, whether you're Democrat or Republican. The other thing that needs to happen is that the Democrats themselves also needs to make concessions, right? Because you can't, in any negotiation, you can't always get everything you want. So both sides have to be willing, right, to give up their respective positions, and the president also has to be invested in this. And I think that if they do that, things will definitely work out.
Is there a time frame, sir? Is there a time frame at all to what we are seeing? Because a lot of persons are not showing as much optimism.
Well, the thing is, we still have some wiggle room here. The longest shutdown in the country was about, I'm thinking about 40-something days or thereabout. Right now, we're in day 16. So some of the parties actually think that they have time. They have time to actually resolve this. The only problem with it is that people are losing jobs. And these are people that have families, that have mortgages to pay, that have bills to pay, that have children in colleges. So these things have real lifetime consequences, right, for people, the average people, civil servants that are just trying to make a living. So I'm thinking that the real lifetime consequences are very dire.
Mr. Babalola, thank you very much for sparing the time to talk to us.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit has reiterated that all air travelers must declare cash exceeding $10,000 at international airports. The clarification came during a capacity building workshop in Lagos where the NFIU, Nigerian Customs Service, and Economic and Financial Crimes Commission pledged stronger collaboration amongst money laundering and terrorism financing. NFIU's Mary Esther Oworishe revealed the recent joint intelligence operations uncovered over $6 million in suspicious cash movements at Lagos Airport. Customs officials emphasized the importance of interagency cooperation and vigilance at borders, while the EFCC called for synergy to dismantle sophisticated financial crimes networks and strengthen Nigeria's compliance with global anti-money laundering standards. The Securities and Exchange Commission and the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria have signed a memorandum of understanding to expand SMEs' access to long-term financing through Nigeria's capital market. The partnership is signed in Abuja, is meant to provide alternative funding options for over 14 million MSMEs, supporting the federal government's goal of building a $1 trillion economy. SEC DG Dr. Emomotini Agama said the deal would help small businesses raise funds and grow sustainably. SMEDAN DG Charles Audi added that the initiative aims to list at least 1,000 SMEs, reduce funding constraints, promote financial literacy, and integrate SMEs into Nigeria's formal investment ecosystem. Moving on to the stock market, the Nigerian equities market posted modest gains today as the all-share index advanced by 0.41% to close at a 1,448,355.04 basis points, and the market is standing firm at 94.17 trillion naira. Well, that's it for the markets today. The NGX closed in positive territory, supported by gains in industrial and consumer goods stocks, while the insurance sector weighed on overall sentiment. Investors continue to navigate a mixed sectoral landscape. As always, we'll keep watching for shifts in momentum. That's all on Business Tonight. My name is Chamunda Bank. Sports next with Openi.
The Nigeria Football Federation is set for a major financial boost after the Super Eagles' strong performance in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Nigeria finished second in Group C with 17 points, earning significant rewards under FIFA's qualification payout structure. Each win in the playoffs is worth $1.938 million, while a draw attracts $1.008 million. With 5 wins and 4 draws, the Super Eagles ranked among Africa's top teams. FIFA also confirmed a $9.6 million participation bonus for every African nation that qualifies for the 2026 World Cup. Should Nigeria win all 4 remaining playoff matches and secure qualification, the NFF could earn a total of $17.15 million, about 25.17 billion naira in local currency. Rivers United have arrived in Maputo, Mozambique, ahead of their CAF Champions League second preliminary round first leg clash against Black Bulls FC on Saturday. The contingent, including players and officials, landed on Thursday afternoon after a brief stop in Addis Ababa. The match will take place at the 3,000-capacity Lauji Sport Arena in Matola, near Maputo, as Rivers United aim to secure a favorable result before the return leg in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Striker Emmanuel Oke scored the only goal in the final as Ikorodu City Football Academy defeated Inspire Sports Academy Greater Tomorrow to win this year's edition of the 1X Cup, the largest grassroots football tournament in Lagos. In the final played at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena, the two sides battled hard, but Ikorodu City ultimately walked away with the Giant Silver Trophy and 10 million naira. Speaking afterward, tournament organizer Waidi Akoni and coach of the winning team, Ego Washington, were full of praise for the quality of the final.
The mental is very tough. I have to talk to my boys that you guys have to calm yourself down. We've been losing a lot of goals. So the mentality, I don't want it to drop. I told them we're going to get it, that we should continue with the performance, that we will get it. And I'm very happy. This is just my 10 months in Ikorodu, and I think I promoted the team to NLL, and also this is the biggest tournament that I won in grassroots. I'm so much happy.
I think it's been a good journey, about 32 days to be precise. Took about 3.5 to 4 months. You know, every day we come out and we get these guys to showcase their talent. It's been so successful. I'm so happy that today's match actually also proved that. Because a lot of people thought it was going to be Isaac to win the championship, but Ikorodu came up and they did very well. So again, it's been a lovely, nice tournament. Young boys showcasing their talents. All the course of this championship.
And that's all on Sports News tonight. Entertainment is next with Kate.
Kate is here with entertainment stories. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Felicity. How are you doing today?
I'm all right.
Thank you for having me. All right, and Abuja High Court has scheduled November 16 for the hearing of the assault and battery case against rapper Odumodu Black, filed by content creator Levi Ogbogiri, popularly known as Crazy Scent. Now, Crazy Scent alleged that Odumodu Black attacked him at a public event on December 16, 2024, while he was taking selfies and recording videos, leaving him emotionally distressed and with a damaged iPhone 15 Pro Max to be precise. Now he's demanding compensation, a public apology, and an injunction against further harassments, with the apology to be published on Odumodu Black's social media pages and in 2 national newspapers. Justice J.O.E. Adeyemi Ajayi, of course, granted an adjournment after the rapper's lawyer, Sheriff Bello, requested more time to prepare. Now, social media reactions have been divided, with some fans defending Odumodu Black and others calling him out. Now, in other news, Britney Spears has hit back at her ex-husband, Kevin Federline, over shocking claims about her parenting in his upcoming memoir, You Thought You Knew. In excerpts published by the New York Times, Federline alleged that their sons once found Spears watching them sleep with a knife in her hand and accused her of using cocaine while breastfeeding, expressing concern for her mental health. But Britney is not having it. On Instagram, she called the accusations gaslighting and hurtful, saying she's barely seen her sons in 5 years and feels disrespected by Federline. She dismissed these claims as white lies going straight to the bank, adding that she's focused on healing and that any real woman would speak up too. Now, of course, that does it on Entertainment News tonight. My name is Kate Adeogun.
Finally tonight, as Nigeria joins the global community to mark World Food Day, stakeholders are calling for renewed commitment toward food security and sovereignty. News Central's Placidia Imwekulie reports.
The Third World War may focus on the struggle over water and struggle over food.
In a bid to address food challenges and steps forward, experts, government representatives, and development partners gathered at the Nigerian Institute for International Affairs in Lagos to discuss how food security to food sovereignty can enhance the country's economic strength.
You are hungry, you are talking about bush. Let's cut down the bush, make them farms.
Speaking at the event, Governor of Niger State, Umar Bago, emphasized that no nation can be great without food security.
Nigeria is the third largest country in the world. By 2050, we will be the third largest country in the world in terms of population. That means there is need for us to feed ourselves. You heard very well that the next world war will not be with weapon. It's going to be with water, it's going to be with food. As such, ahead of that, we need to be able to provide for ourselves, to secure ourselves and be sovereign and to be independent of ourselves so that we can feed ourselves and nobody will control us.
There's no country that ever develops without having food security. You must be able to feed your population. Feeding the population also means affordability. We must have affordable food. The other is food sovereignty. Food sovereignty means that you are in control of what you eat, what you produce, and you don't depend on what you call imported food and so on.
Other dignitaries who spoke were united in their calls for massive investments in agriculture while addressing insecurity in rural areas.
It's by investing in infrastructure, investing in irrigation, investing in storage, investing in farming. You know, farming is beyond crop production alone. It has to do with livestock, with aquaculture, with fish, fishery, and also we have to invest in seeding. Most of our farmers don't have the right seeds, they don't have the right equipment, they don't have the right chemicals, you know, they don't have the right herbicides. So once we invest in that, both the public and the private sector, then that can be handled.
As Nigeria faces mounting challenges of inflation and food shortages, stakeholders say investing in sustainable agriculture is key to national development and stability, and that the time to move from policy discussions to concrete action is now.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories. Senate has confirmed the appointment of Joash Amopita as chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission. Talks to resolve ongoing standoff between striking lecturers and federal government ends without resolution. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to retrieve remains of slain hostages still held in Gaza following ceasefire deal. As always, we'd love your feedback. Please share them with us using the phone number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on all platforms at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for your kind attention tonight. Have a good rest.